Okay, this week, our theme is play. So that's what we're going to do today. I want to get a baseline. How's everyone feeling? What's your body feeling like? Where are you thought-wise? We have a lot going on in the world, a lot going on with holiday season. And you've had a few weeks. You've had a few weeks of exposure to stress reset, some context, some tools. And I'm just curious to know, how are you? What's going on? Doing good, but so ready for this stress reset. Thank you. As mentioned, we're going to do a whole week on play. It started with Move Lab yesterday, sort of integrating some of the tools and expanding on some of the practices we've gone through. And we're going to do something similar here in stress reset and a little different. I just want to be upfront with this. Most of you are going to be highly uncomfortable today. You heard me right. You're going to be highly uncomfortable today. Not physically uncomfortable, just exploring a part of you that you are probably, like most adults, resistant to, that you are probably dissociated from, and that truthfully, we hear a lot about the word, we're all familiar with the word integrity. But what is integrity? This is the first thing I have enjoyed. Great. What is integrity? Integrity is, Bob's having another one of his days today. Integrity is integrating all of the parts of us. Sometimes culturally, we begin to prioritize certain parts of our personality. We are taught to prioritize, to put more effort, more emphasis on the structured portions of us, the responsible, the perfect portion, the very adulty portions of us. And what play gives us an opportunity to do is reignite some joy, reignite or reintegrate some of those more childlike components of us before the weight of the world started to stress us out. So that is where we're going to go today, and we're going to do it from the body perspective. There's going to be a few times where I turn my camera off today because I don't want you to watch me. I don't want you to follow my lead. Bob, please. Hey, over here, please. Sorry about that. He's about to knock over a mirror. That's not good for anybody. So that is where we're going to go today. A little bit of a definition or some context around what is play. The opposite of play is not work. The opposite of play is nervous system depression. It is an inability to be pro-social, and pro-social is a nervous system state. Having your pro-social nervous system engaged means that you are connected to people. You are connected to yourself. You are excited. You are happy. You are joyful. You are interested in things like work and creativity and play. So pro-social behavior also improves immune system, decreases stress, all sorts of great stuff. So I want us to not think of play as what we're doing, because this is not let's pull out the Connect 4 and the Twister, although that is a version of play. Play isn't necessarily about games. Play is not necessarily about toys. It is a state of mind. It is a nervous system state. And within that nervous system state, within that state of mind, what we are engaging in with play is something that just sparks joy in us, something that we easily lose track of time, something that feels good in the moment, that is being done for no other reason than to just do it. And the reason why play, let's read this. I got some not great information shortly before. Great. So you're in the right place. Play is all about just getting into the moment, about just being present with what comes up without the need to sort of qualify, I'm doing this thing for this thing. And the way it works physiologically is the same portion of your brain that picks up stress, negativity, pain even, is the same portion of your brain that picks up joy, excitement, and pleasure. And so if your nervous system, Bob wants to say hi to everybody. This is Bob, little oxytocin hit for everybody. What we're trying to do with the play is flood our system with things that feel good, that gives us an opportunity to explore more deeply and more intellectually the things that are stressing us out, instead of perseverating and deep diving and holding on to the stressful story itself. So enough talk. Let's get started. We're going to start off with some of our familiar nervous system warm-ups, just to get everybody in the same vein. Now he's digging over here. It's a puppy. What are you going to do? Just to get everyone on the same page and everyone ready to go together. And then we're going to have some embodied play practices. So let's start off with a little bit of breathing. I want you to imagine a shape that brings you joy. Maybe it's the shape of a heart. Maybe it's a balloon. Maybe it's Bob here. Maybe it's this shape. Maybe it's a square. Maybe it's big. Maybe it's little. But close your eyes and just imagine. And if the shape can be three-dimensional, like a ball rather than a circle, a box rather than a square, would be great. And when you're ready, close your eyes or keep your eyes open, your choice. And then I want you to take a deep breath and imagine your rib cage becomes that shape. Breathing in. Exhale, feel the shape shrink, soften, get a little smaller. Inhale, make the shape big again. Exhale, imagine that shape goes small. Inhale, make it big. Exhale, let it be small. Good. It's like, how big, how robust can you make that shape? And the shape is for you to decide. And then an exhale. 3 more of those. Inhaling, big shapes. Exhaling, small. 1 more. Good. Then when you're ready, open up your eyes and let's go into our very familiar orientation practice. I want you to just begin to look around the room. And just observing what's in the room. I'm laughing because I'm having memories of teaching for anyone who came to the live classes at Cesar Chavez Park, where it was just so many external influences trying to disrupt the class. And I feel like Bob is giving me the opportunity to work on my teaching today. So just taking a look around the room and just noticing what you notice, what's in the room, orienting yourself into the space you're in. Here that might sound like plant, dog, sign, lights, computer, glass of water, door, bricks, floor. You're just looking around the room. And if this is a new practice to you, just kind of be with that, just absorbing and settling into your space. And if you are familiar with the orientation practice, let's dial it up a notch. I want you to spot something in your room that sparks joy. And just keep looking at that thing that sparks joy for you. And just notice how that makes you feel. Maybe you even kind of want to lean into it or lean away from it. And you're just looking at it. Now, there's a distinction between being happy and being joyful. Happy is sort of this prolonged state, right? There's a lot going on with that. Joy is an embodied feeling. Like there's a feeling that bubbles up when you feel joy. And that's what we're looking for, is like, I don't know why I'm enjoying that so much, but I am. And you're just going to keep looking at the thing. Just noticing that. And when that joy runs out, because sooner or later that thing's just going to be, I was looking at a plant, and all of a sudden it's going to look, well, that's just a plant. And then you're going to continue to look around your room for something else that brings a little bit of joy, that excites your nervous system in a positive way. And you're going to look at that thing for a moment. I'm just going to kind of gaze at it. Maybe it's the way the light hits it. You're just noticing things in your own space, noticing in a very different way, but you're already surrounded by. And then that is working for you. You're like, I like this practice. Keep doing that. Or close your eyes and begin to listen to the sounds of your own room. Listening for maybe the hum of the room. Maybe it's the sound of your dog scratching at everything in the room. No, maybe that's just me. Maybe it's the sound of traffic outside. Just listening for the sounds in the room, just kind of settling into this. Good. And then I want you to just notice how it is you're sitting, standing, lying right now. How do you know you're lying, you're sitting, you're standing in the way that you are? What's touching your body? Right now, I can feel my feet touch the floor, the back of my legs touch the chair. This sort of hits the mid back. And I know I'm sitting in this chair versus a wingback chair versus a stool versus the floor because of what's touching my body. I'm just going to notice that for a moment. What is supporting you right now? Just kind of paying attention to the reality of what is, not, oh, I should be sitting differently, or maybe if I moved somewhere, it would be better. Just noticing what is in the moment. And then we're going to make it a little more difficult for you. I want you to notice inside of yourself for a moment. I want you to notice your own body. What in your body feels spacious right now? What in your body feels less spacious right now? Is it as macro, as big as like upper body, low body, front body, or is it more specific? Is it shoulder, hand, foot that you're noticing? Is it more specific? Is it a joint? Is it a ring finger or a little toe? Just noticing how you notice your body. Just paying attention to that. What are you attuned to noticing? And then let's revisit that. We have oriented ourselves to our space visually. We have settled with some breath. We have oriented auditory. We have felt our relationship to the outside world, and we have felt our internal landscape, our inside. And all of that's going to be important as we progress into play. Now, here's what I'll say. Often when we're in a talk about stress, in a talk about trauma, in a talk about healing, we are verbally talking, right? We're trying to use our words. Well, we all have a language that is pre-verbal. We all have a language, we all have a common language that existed that we know before we knew words, and that is the language of movement. It has been shown case study after case study after case study that two people who speak very different languages, come from very different cultures, can understand each other's emotional states simply by watching how they occupy space, how they move, what their posture looks like, what their facial expressions look like. We understand movement. We understand it at a very intuitive and intimate level. So what I'm going to ask you to do today is not something out of your scope of practice. This is something that you are born, it's a natural human right. You are born into movement and understanding movement, and it has been your language, even though you are unaware that you are using this nonverbal communication 75% more than you are language, right? So I'm not asking you to be a scientist, not asking you to be a movement therapist. I'm asking you to be a human being and to be a curious human being as we explore our relationships to movement. And we've already proven we can do that. We've paid attention in lots of different ways. So here we go. Get yourself settled in sync. And I want you to watch the video of me move for a moment. I want you to watch my hand, my arm move. And just notice how your system responds to this movement without the need to judge it, without the need to criticize or subjectively view it as, oh, I like that, that's pretty, or that doesn't look good, or what is he doing? Just kind of noticing what is actually happening. Noticing in your own body, do you feel yourself soften into what you're sitting on? Do you notice your internal landscape any differently? Then I invite you to consider where in your body right now feels like it has this movement to it. Breathe into that. Can you, as you breathe, imagine that movement happening inside of your body? And if it makes you feel good, and if you're called to do it, I'm the only one on video right now, maybe you want to have this movement happen as an external movement, meaning maybe you want to do this with your arm. Maybe this feels like it would feel good right now. Or maybe you just want to sit there and imagine it happening inside of you and just noticing how that shifts anything inside of you. Like what language percolates up? Is it the language of, oh, that looks relaxing. That looks like a wave. That reminds me of settling. That triggers me. That looks ridiculous. What is he even asking us to do? Just noticing that, like what's the story going on inside of the body? Because we're asked to pay attention to things that we don't understand logically all the time. You can do it. Your body understands this. Just be with that for a moment. Now, if that's already too uncomfortable for you, maybe you go back into the orientation practice, maybe you go into the breathing into a shape practice, or just noticing. If you're really enjoying that, maybe you just like pause this, turn it off for a moment, and just be with this, or follow me. Sitting in your chair, just begin to rock right and left. This is something we do in Move Lab all the time. And you can kind of watch me just go through this. What I'm doing is I'm sort of sensing into my body and imagining that my spine, the trunk of my body, has become sea kelp. And I'm just sort of noticing that. And as I do it, in my imagination, what I'm sort of feeling is the currents that are outside of me, the water, would sort of move me and move me and move me and move me. Now, I'm going to go videoless for a moment, but I'm going to be here with you. And I'm doing this very, very intentionally because I don't want you now to do what I do. I want you to follow what you are inclined to do. If you're a visual person, what if the current changes? What if it moves a little quicker, a little slower? What if the current comes from your backside or the front side? If you are a feeler, a kinesthetic person, rather than just rocking right butt cheek, left butt cheek, what if you rock towards the right knee and away from the right knee, towards the left knee? Could you let your head move differently? What would it feel like if this motion now came from your lungs? If instead of your spine being seaweed, if your lungs started to move right and left and right and left. Moving forward and back, forward and back. A little quicker, a little slower. What would that look like? What would that feel like to just allow yourself an opportunity to sense into that, to feel into that? Again, I've already warned you, this is uncomfortable, not in a physical way, but because you're not asked to do this a lot. You're not asked to do something for the sake of just doing it. Good. Good. We have a comment of this exercise is giving me shivers. Hope that means I'm resetting my stress. Often, and we kind of went over this with the low body stuff, that shivering is often the therapeutic tremor. It's like your body has been holding on, contracted around stress for so long, and it's usually around the heart, around the lungs, around the spine. And what you're allowing yourself the opportunity to do is gently, thoughtfully, wisely move through it. Move through all of that stuff you've been holding on to, which helps to metabolize the stress and reset that stress. And if it becomes too much, you can make it smaller, you can make it bigger. I'm going to check back in with the video. Good. You can quiet yourself down and you can just take a look around your space again. Just, does the space feel the same? Does it feel the same to sit in that chair? Are you paying attention to sounds in the same way? What is the internal landscape like now? Good. If you want to drop anything into the comment section, now would be the time to do that. And if not, we're going to now stand up. So, standing up, sort of did this with the upper body. I want you to put your hands on your hips. So we're going to rock over to the right and to the left. You may recognize this from a movement perspective as weight shifting to right foot to left foot. What I like to imagine is the femurs, these leg bones, are sort of shaped like number sevens that look at each other. And what I'm feeling here is my pelvis slide over into that number seven and slide over into that. So I'm just really sensing or feeling into those hip joints. And it can be as simple as shift and shift and shift and shift, right? We are reintroducing ourselves to the movement vocabulary. But here's what I want you to think. If movement is a language, and if it's our first language, and the only sentence I can move through is this, right? Like, here I am doing it. Like, how juvenile is that speech, right? To me, this is like saying, like, me like play. Me like play, me like play, me like play, right? Instead of something like I like play, or play feels so good. I really like, it's just a more finessed way of movement as language. What is the movement saying? What is the story that's being said there? This is really, it's a small vocabulary. So allow yourself to begin to explore the hip joints. You may want to come down and up and up. Again, this is not a Watch James class, so have fun. As you begin to move, think about levels. Like, how about if I go down or I come up? What if it was the sensation of hula hoop? What if it was back and forth, weight shifting to the heels and forward, or figure eights? What if you begin to pay attention to the movement of your pubic bone or the movement of your tailbone? How does that change? What if it was the sensation of your actual stomach or guts visiting the right foot, visiting the left foot, side to side? And again, you can speed it up, you can slow it down. I'm giving this to you because in westernized and in specific white cultures, we have lost our relationship to embodied, ritualistic, letting go movement. You may do this movement and think to yourself, oh, that's like salsa dance or hula or African dance or some sort of indigenous dance. And you wouldn't be wrong because those movement patterns are not just dance. They are rituals. They are letting go. They are prayers. It is a deeply embodied experience that we just don't have in the Western culture and in specific Western white culture. And so sometimes we have to play our way into remembering what it feels like to move fluidly, supplely, and in relationship to the world around us and our body. Again, not weird, not hard, possibly very, very uncomfortable, because when was the last time you allowed yourself to simply do that? But how easy would it be to turn on some music and dance your way through that music? Not to not to use dance as a series of shapes and gestures, but to use dance as a way to feel your way into your body and let go of and metabolize your way through some of the stress. Good. Find your way back to a seated position. And just drop into the comments. I can see we're losing. I'm totally okay with losing attendees today. I knew this. It's uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable to get into your body. It is uncomfortable to be present. And a lot of people are not ready for it. They want the fix, right? Give me the protocol of how to reset my stress. And as I've said over and over and over again, there is no protocol for that. I cannot give that to you because it does not exist. Instead, I can show you, I can steward in your relationship with your body and the world around you so that you can begin to decipher and understand which tools work best. What does my body have to say? What is going on here? Got it? So drop in some comments of how that felt or what you noticed. Reminds me of how joyful and freeing it was to belly dance. Yep, there it is again, in indigenous culture, very wise old tradition of metabolizing and storytelling through the body. So lots of stuff to sort of work with and play with there. Now, let's turn that into a practice, right? So we sort of oriented ourselves, we allowed and made space for our body to move in ways that it wants to move, which is uncomfortable and hard. I get it. So let's go to an old familiar practice that hopefully now has more context around it. I want you to take your favorite hand and I want you to make your favorite hand a paper airplane, right? Paper airplanes always have a tip, a nose that they fly through, and then a tail. So I don't care where your paper airplane goes, but the only rule to it is wherever it goes, it has to fly nose first. So I'm going to scooch back. And as my paper airplane flies, I'm going to keep my eyes glued on the paper airplane. And it can go small, and it can go big. It can go wherever it wants to go. But as you continue to allow that paper airplane to move, and as you look for it, just begin to listen for what is the experience in your body? Does it like moving that quickly? Does it need to move slower? Does it need to move bigger? Does it need to move more jagged? Does it need to go more supple? Where in your body are you getting that information from? Is it coming from the neck, coming from the shoulder, coming from the body? Where is it coming from? What is the language? What is being said? What's the story going on? And then maybe pick the other one. And if you think about everything we've done today, here we are making shapes, making gestures, big shapes, little shapes, tracking something with our eyes, sinking into it, paying attention to our body, moving through the spine. And if I stood up, I can begin to move through the totality of my body. So keep going. Keep going, moving through right arm, left arm. Maybe those paper airplanes want to take you through your room. Maybe they want you to be down on the ground. Maybe they want you to be up on your tiptoes, running through your room. Where do those paper airplanes want to fly to? Maybe it's the things that you spotted earlier in the room, the pretty things, the joyful things. And as you continue to move around the room, I want you to think about the process you're going through of just going, oh, there's a paper airplane and I'm just enjoying it. And I'm just moving through my space for no other reason than to just move through the space and be aware. How does that make me feel? And maybe I can do that with a ball at some point. Maybe I can do that on my run or a walk, feeling my feet move, feeling my hand grip something and throw something, feeling myself be in relationship with another human being or a dog or a cat, whatever the case may be. But I'm no longer interested in just doing the thing to do the thing. I'm very involved in how does it make me feel? And is this thing sparking joy more often than not? Good. Find your way back to your seat. And I want you to think about that for the next few days. As you're moving through and choosing things to do, whether it's reading a book, whether it's going for a walk, playing, whatever, doing a puzzle, that maybe there's a moment, if you're doing the puzzle, you're just feeling the pieces and you're feeling yourself in your chair and you're appreciative of what's going on. And as you're walking, you're feeling your feet hit, you're feeling your spine move, and you're intaking the world. That is play. Just being fully immersed in the experience. And I've just given you steps on how to learn how to do that. And as you can see, as people dropped off, it is hard. It is uncomfortable because we are not culturally, it's not in our culture. And it is very, very difficult because so much of the culture, even if you look at the conversation that came up in the end of Move Lab yesterday about how do we begin to talk to people about these fringe experiences, culture doesn't understand this. Systemically, we don't understand this. We are no pain, no gain, effort, move, move, move culture. So slowing down, paying attention is the key to resetting your stress. And today I've just shown you steps on how to pay attention to what to pay attention to. So thank you. And I hope you join us for Move Lab tomorrow and another stress reset on Friday. We're going to continue with play, but they're going to be Friday's class, very, very different. But you needed this class to get there. Thank you, everybody.
Great. Thank you so much, James. I actually took the whole class today. I was able to do that. And a couple of comments. So when you were doing this, it reminded me of something that I do when I'm trying to fall asleep. If I'm having trouble, insomnia, I actually imagine myself swimming with dolphins. And that's the movement that I am doing in my mind through the water with the dolphins around me. And
I love it.
That, so you kind of feel that, that calming sensation if you're visualizing doing it. The other one is I realize, and I've always known this about myself, but I realize when I'm standing in line, like at the grocery store or wherever, I will subconsciously do like a figure 8 movement. I'm never just standing still with my hips, not my arms. I'm sitting down right now, but I'll start shifting. Yeah, I'm not doing that, but I start shifting back and forth from one leg to the other. And then and I don't know if maybe it's just like a high energy thing, or I'm just trying to like calm my nervous system while I'm waiting. But I notice I do that. And then I look around to see if anyone else is doing it. And I don't generally see it. So then I stop.
Well, it's funny. I was having this conversation with a client the other day. We were talking about stuff like this. And I said, as an experiment, and especially right now during like holiday shopping season, just go to a store, go somewhere that feels safe, whatever that looks like for you. Go to a store and just people watch for a moment, and people watch from the perspective of what is their body language saying. Like, what can you know about the person from like how they stand, how they walk, how aware they are? This came to me several years ago. I can remember like I don't know, it's probably been 5 or 6 years ago. I was in Best Buy and it was a Black Friday. And I was looking around and it's like, there are so many people in this store, and yet there is no one present in this store.
Right.
There is no one who is actually here in the store.
Right.
Everyone is like ahead of the game or
In their mind, yeah.
or doesn't want to be there or thinking about, like, no one, for as much breathing is going on in the space, there is no one here. And then we wonder why we're stressed, why we're fatigued, why we're overwhelmed. And it was just like, no matter where you go, you see it. When you look in the grocery stores, because no one is actually there. And that sort of like figure eight rocking thing is a sign that your nervous system is present. So like after you work out, if you can stand with your eyes closed and you feel yourself kind of wobble or rock, that's a sign that like all systems are online. If you're rigid and held,
Right.
that is the opposite of a pro-social system. That is an anxious nervous system.
Right. It's funny you said that about Best Buy. I had a similar experience yesterday. I went into Home Goods. It was experience of myself, but I was in that mode. Like I have, these 3 stops I have to make. I need to get this at Home Goods and this here and this. And when I walked in the store and I heard the Christmas music, I was like, wait, I need to enjoy this experience. It's the holidays. I want to slow down. And so instead of just grabbing the thing that I needed to get at Home Goods and heading out, I went over to the candle aisle. Yeah. And I smelled different candles. Like I just wanted to stop and smell the roses, just kind of like, okay, I don't need to rush. There's nowhere I have to be. I'm working from home today, whatever it was. Yeah. But it is true. Like we all get in that, I got to do and point A to point B, and your body is one place, but your mind is somewhere else. So trying to integrate and bring it back. So
right. So the tools are great, right? Like all of these, but the tools don't mean anything unless you know how to use the tools. And it's all about listening and experiencing and being present here, not out here.
Right.
Got to start here. And you can see from today's class, like it gets really uncomfortable for people because mostly it's the culture, right? Of going like, oh, we don't move like that. We don't do this. What good is this? I want the breathe. Just give me the meditation to do that's going to fix me. It's like, well, that doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. You know what? I would be interested to hear from the participants maybe on Friday if we remember. So a lot of times these classes bring up for me like, oh, wow, I do that. And I didn't realize that was a thing. Yep. So I would love to know, not today because people are already dropping off, but maybe on Friday we could bring that up and say, what are things that we've done in class that you realize you were doing intuitively anyway?
Well, that's like the whole premise of my work, is taking these like implicit, intuitive things that we're all like randomly doing every once in a while and going, oh, that's the thing I do. So how does that thing become a tool that I can resource more often so that my habits and behaviors change instead of just like randomly noticing like, oh yeah, that's that thing that I kind of do every once in a while, because our systems know how to take care of themselves.
Right.
Like your system is already doing the rocking. It's already doing the, oh, I should smell this thing. I should look around. I should listen. I need to call my best friend. I need to go to lunch with my mom, whatever it is. Like we're already doing these things, but we do them often so unconsciously, so haphazardly, that to be able to make it a tool so you can resource it is the key. So that's a very good point, Alicia. Cool.
Well, thank you, everybody. And we'll see you tomorrow for Move Lab, right? What day is it? Tomorrow's Thursday.
Tomorrow is a Move Lab day. Tomorrow is, I know that for sure.
Yep. Today's December 1st. So happy December.
Hey, Alicia, didn't it feel like Cesar Chavez Park here with Bob trying to scream?
Yes, that was really funny when you said that. That's exactly it. Although this was a much safer environment with Bob. I would have to say there were times at Cesar Chavez, I know Raymond can attest, that we were a little concerned about everyone's welfare. I don't know that we'll be going back there. I mean, it was the time back then too, but But yeah, that was an interesting time, but it was a fun time.
Yep. Yep. And lots of learning experiences.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody. We'll see
Okay,
you
see ya.
tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.